At the dangerous Somalia coast, Somali pirates prepared themselves for the target, which seemed to be another juicy, big-time prize. But little did they know, their prize was no helpless cargo ship. In fact, it was a fully armed U.S. Navy destroyer, ready for battle, bristling with advanced weaponry and battle-hardened sailors. Before speeding toward the imposing warship, the pirates, each of them carrying AK-47s and RPGs, did not realize that a whole course of their lives was about to alter forever. What came next was the story of boldness, fierce counterattack, and an outwit battle through fireworks. This and many more stories will be part of this video, so stay with us as we bring you some of the most audacious encounters with Somali pirates and how the US Navy dealt with them. The beaches off the coast of Somalia have for many years been a stage for high seas drama. The Somali coast is 3,000 kilometers long and is adjacent to one of the busiest maritime passages in the world, the Gulf of Aden, through which over 30,000 ships sail each year. While the waves that shimmer at the surface appear to be inviting, these waters have deep-seated issues with piracy. For decades now, Somali pirates have targeted merchant vessels and turned this region into one of the most dangerous areas for sailors. This particular incident involving Somali pirates is marked as one of the most brazen incidents that stand out from other piracy stories. It was the day when Somali pirates attempted to hijack a U.S. Navy destroyer instead of a vulnerable cargo ship or a slow-moving tanker. What followed was a breathtaking clash of modern military might against underpowered, overconfident, and ill-prepared adversaries at sea who had never truly comprehended the other side of the story. It is a story that gets passed around in naval circles and has become legendary. In order to understand the reason behind pirates taking such reckless and catastrophic actions, one must start by grasping the dire conditions in Somalia that led to piracy. The civil war, which raged for years, left Somalia without a functioning government, allowing foreign fleets to illegally fish in its waters. This unacceptable behavior devastated the lives of Somali fishermen, forcing them to turn to alternate measures. What began as attempts to fend off poachers soon escalated into a criminal enterprise of hijacking ships for ransom. By 2008, the piracy business was utterly thriving. Equipped with relentless motivation and AK-47s, the pirate gangs would target vessels of any size using fast skiffs in the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean with RPGs. As shocking as this might sound, it was extremely effective. Ships carrying luxury items and even supertanks were captured, and hostage crews were used to meet the ransom demands. But with great success came high and expensive consequences. The pirates soon found themselves in high-stakes confrontations, hampered by their lack of training and intelligence. Over the course of at least a decade, Somali pirates pulled off some of the most daring and mind-boggling hijackings. But there are a few that stand out. Let's dive into these stories one by one. First off, let's talk about one of the most daring hijackings, the case of MV Faina. In late September 2008, a message of doom crossed international waters when Somali pirates hijacked the Ukrainian cargo ship MV Faina off the coast of Somalia. But this was no ordinary hijacking. On board the Faina was a lethal cargo bound for Kenya, a shipment of 33 Soviet-era T-72 tanks, grenade launchers, ammunition, and assorted military equipment. As the pirates secured the ship and its 20 crew members, the world held its breath, fearing that the weapons might fall into the hands of terrorist groups or Somali militias, already infamous for their brutal clashes. The drama began when the MV Faina, a Belize-flagged vessel, was intercepted in the Gulf of Aden by heavily armed pirates speeding in small boats. The captain of the vessel was a Russian citizen, Viktor Nikolsky, who was able to send a distress signal before being overrun. Somali pirates took to the ship within hours, armed with AK-47s and RPGs. The Faina was now under their control, anchored off the coast of Somalia. News of the hijacking spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves across the globe. This wasn't just some cargo ship. This was a potential ticking time bomb of geopolitics and violence. The demands of pirates were as audacious as it could get. They initially asked for $20 million in ransom, which was an enormous sum considering the value of the cargo they held hostage. Yet, the actual drama was playing out on the high seas. Suspecting a possible security threat, the the United States Navy quickly deployed warships, including the USS Howard, into the area. Their mission was straightforward: at all costs, bar the pirates from unloading the cargo. For days, U.S. Navy warships surrounded the Faina, holding on to their powerful weapons designed specifically for such operations. The scene was nothing short of a Hollywood thriller. In the standoff of pirates and international forces where tensions ran high, there were clashes reported within pirates. Rival factions arguing whether to negotiate or to resist, weighing in Somali clan leaders and government officials on shore out of fear that the tanks might exacerbate the region's already explosive conflicts. In the middle of this tense standoff, Captain Nikolsky mysteriously died, reportedly from a heart attack. It was a grim situation that further demoralized the crew. The crew seemed trapped on a vessel full of deadly weapons, and with the U.S. Navy around them, at the mercy of their armed captors. The agony just would not end. Determined to make their fortune, the pirates stood their ground. Negations moving along at a snail's pace, the weeks dragged into months. After 4 tough months of tense negotiations, a ransom of $3.2 million was reportedly paid, the money being airdropped onto the Faina, an end to a harrowing chapter. The crew was freed, with the U.S. Navy taking care of seeing that cargo makes its way to its original destination safely. The case of the MV Faina underlines not only the audacity of Somali pirates, but the challenges of securing international waters. It underlined the high-stakes drama of modern piracy, where even a single vessel can spark a global crisis. While it was a massive downer for the global community, especially those who are tasked to protect the shipping routes, there are other instances when things have not gone quite right for the pirates as they witness the wrath of U.S. Special Forces. Now, let's talk about another unforgettable pirate encounter, the Maersk Alabama hijacking. One such incident happened in 2009, on a bright April morning, when a U.S.-flagged cargo ship sailed through the Gulf of Aden. The ship carried humanitarian aid bound for Kenya, but what lay ahead was anything but humanitarian. Somali pirates, armed to the teeth and hungry for ransom, had spotted their prey. What unfolded was a tale of courage, desperation, and the razor-thin line between life and death. As the Maersk Alabama cruised peacefully through the calm waters, 4 pirates in a small skiff approached the enormous cargo vessel with bold determination. Captain Richard Phillips and his 20 unarmed crewmen had been preparing for just such a moment, but prayed that it would never arrive. The crew panicked as the pirates closed in on them and scrambled to execute evasive maneuvers. The ship zigzagged at high speed, sending foamy wakes toward the approaching boat. But the pirates were relentless. They fired warning shots, their AK-47s barking in the open air, until they managed to board the ship. What followed was a game of survival chess. Phillips, understanding the danger that his crew was in, convinced the pirates to take him hostage, leaving the others alone. The pirates agreed, but insisted on a ransom for the ship and its captain. With Phillips in their control, they boarded a small lifeboat and headed towards the Somali coast. The tension was palpable. The lifeboat was tiny, overcrowded, and surrounded by the vast, merciless ocean. News of the hijacking spread like wildfire, reaching the highest levels of the U.S. government. The U.S. Navy moved quickly, and warships, including the USS Bainbridge, were dispatched to intercept the pirates. A 4-day standoff gripped the world. Navy warships kept the lifeboat under shadow, their spotlights cut through the darkness of night. Inside the cramped vessel, Captain Phillips was bound and at the mercy of his captors. The pirates, nervous and paranoid, occasionally fired warning shots into the air, a show of defiance against the overwhelming firepower surrounding them. Negotiations with the pirates were at a boiling point. The U.S. Navy tried to reason with them, offering safe passage in exchange for Phillips' release, but the pirates refused, seeing an opportunity for a bigger payday. As the days dragged on, their nerves began to fray. The lifeboat ran out of fuel, and the pirates, increasingly desperate, became more volatile. The Navy knew they had to act before the situation turned deadly. In a night raid, U.S. Navy SEAL snipers were sent to Bainbridge. By waiting for the right moment, the snipers gained their position above while the lifeboat drifted under choppy waters. Once the pirates were least expecting the danger, the snipers sprang into the action. In the next few seconds, 3 shots were fired with pinpoint accuracy. 3 pirates were instantly killed and Captain Phillips was rescued. The Maersk Alabama hijacking thus became a synonym for resilience and heroism. It showed that the U.S. military, along with its captain, Captain Phillips, who displayed an unbreakable spirit, had determination. One of the most dramatic episodes of modern piracy in the history books, the event has been immortalized in the movie Captain Phillips. It is the reminder of the great courage needed in facing danger straight in the eye and the steps that nations would take for their own. Next, let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes pirates ever made, the time they picked the wrong target, USS Gonzalez. On one clear morning, the USS Gonzalez, or DDG-66, was on patrol in the Gulf of Aden as a part of their anti-piracy mission. This destroyer has the capability to fire missiles and is equipped with advanced guns. Gonzalez, unlike most other ships, was a Burke-class ship, so it was more like a portable castle of guns and advanced equipment. The ship became operational in 1996. Hence, it was already armed with combinations of different weapons. For example, it possessed Tomahawk cruise missiles, a 5-inch Mark 45 gun, sophisticated radar systems, and many other smaller guns for self-defense. The Gonzalez was built to work in the most extreme conditions. With around 300 sailors on board, Gonzalez had one of the best-trained crews in the U.S. Navy. These men and women were highly skilled. They could perform a range of tasks from naval warfare to counter-piracy operations. The ship was equipped with battles and reconnaissance helmets. Gonzalez also featured advanced operational capabilities. Now, as the ship moved, it did not come off to most people as anything out of the ordinary. But to others, it was the ultimate shield on the ocean. It wasn't any accident that Gonzalez was in the Gulf of Aden. The region's notorious reputation for piracy had led to the creation of Combined Task Force 151, an international coalition dedicated to hunting down and stopping pirate attacks. The Gonzalez was at the leading edge of those operations, frequently escorting fragile merchant ships through treacherous waters. The crew knew exactly how dangerous Somali pirates could be, but what they never expected was the sheer boldness of what was about to happen next. It started with an unassuming radar blip. A small vessel was moving rapidly toward the Gonzalez. Such contacts were expected in these waters, and the ship's crew quickly identified the craft as a skiff, a small, open boat favored by Somali pirates. The destroyer's bridge went into high alert. The commanding officer ordered the crew to track the skiff's movements while broadcasting a radio warning. The sailors monitored the skiff through high-powered binoculars, noticing 8 men, each carrying a rifle and RPGs. It became clear that their intentions were hostile when they did not change course after repeated warnings. The pirates apparently took the destroyer for a commercial vessel, a miscalculation that would soon prove their undoing. The closer the skiff approached, the more brazen the pirates became, firing shots into the air. Such a strategy often proved effective against intimidated merchant crews, which quickly gave way. However, much to their dismay, this was no merchant ship, and they were about to find out. The crew of the Gonzalez held their ground and waited for orders. At 500 yards, the Gonzalez fired a shot across the bow. The huge 5-inch gun swung into position and unleashed one round just ahead of the skiff, sending a towering plume of water into the air. The deafening concussion rippled across the ocean. For a moment, it seemed the pirates faltered. The force and precision of the warning shot should have been enough to make them turn around. But desperation and adrenaline can make men reckless. The pirates kept coming, firing their AK-47s and launching a rocket-propelled grenade that fell harmlessly into the sea, well short of the destroyer. With the pirates now firing on the Gonzalez, the commanding officer gave the order to respond. A .50 caliber machine gun on the ship's deck roared to life. Its heavy rounds shredded the skiff's hull in seconds. The once confident attackers were thrown into chaos. Smoke billowed from the skiff as its engine sputtered and died. 2 pirates dove overboard, frantically swimming away from the wreckage. But Gonzalez's operation did not end there. A Seahawk helicopter launched from the ship's deck, hovering over the other pirates as they waved white flags in surrender. The helicopter crew confirmed to Gonzalez that the pirates had indeed given up. Within minutes, skiff survivors were taken into custody, and their weapons were confiscated. The pirates taken into custody were then transported to an Allied ship, where they would be processed and ultimately brought to trial. While none of the crew from Gonzalez suffered injuries, the incident highlighted once more the dangers that piracy posed in those waters. The incident drew significant publicity, as naval experts and other observers were fascinated by both the daring nature and the miscalculation of the pirates. The encounter was a harsh lesson to the pirates in the perils of overreach. Small arms and limited training pitted against firepower and professionalism that were in a different class altogether. But their desperation, a product of Somalia's ongoing crises, underscored the need for a broader solution to piracy in the region. These were just a few incidents that galvanized the international community to take decisive action against piracy. Starting in 2009, the international community deployed multinational naval coalitions to patrol first the Gulf of Aden and later the wider Indian Ocean, comprising ships from NATO, the European Union, and other independent nations like China, India, and Russia. The U.S. Navy also played a vital role in deterring piracy and protecting ships using high technology, strategic planning, and a significant military presence. The Navy operates primarily in the Gulf of Aden and the waters off the tip of Africa, with warships, surveillance aircraft, and special forces ensuring safe routes through these waters. At the core of these initiatives was Operation Ocean Shield, a multilateral operation intended to deter and disrupt piracy, patrol high-risk areas, and escort vulnerable commercial traffic, while keeping watch for suspicious activities using radar, drones, and satellite imagery. Upon detecting an attempt to attack, Navy teams responded rapidly, often with helicopters stopping pirate skiffs before they could launch an attack. In hijacking incidents, rescue operations unfolded in dramatic scenes involving SEAL team interventions, such as the rescue of the Maersk Alabama in 2009. Besides direct action, the military collaborated with the international community and established protected sea lanes in partnership. Nearby maritime forces were based in piracy hotspots, and the teams received routine training to enhance their readiness. All these efforts, from proactive patrols to rapid intervention, enabled the Navy to act swiftly in times of crisis. These efforts significantly reduced piracy occurrences, ensuring that critical shipping lines remained safe and global trade continued uninterrupted through dangerous waters. Shipping companies also adapted. Many vessels began hiring private security contractors, arming their crews, and undertaking evasive maneuvers to reduce the risk of capture. The eventual introduction of protected transit corridors further limited pirate activity, providing additional surveillance that made it increasingly difficult for skiffs to operate undetected. Nevertheless, the economic impact of piracy remained the biggest concern. At the height of the crisis, ransoms paid to pirates were believed to have exceeded hundreds of millions of dollars annually. These funds were often funneled into crime networks, further fueling instability in Somalia. The international community understood that countering piracy was not solely a military issue. It required efforts to stabilize Somalia and provide its people with alternative livelihoods. Piracy attacks in the Gulf of Aden had significantly declined by the mid-2010s. Joint naval patrols, enhanced international cooperation, and the reinforcement of ships made the waters safer. However, the root causes of piracy, poverty, political instability, and lack of economic opportunities remained unresolved. Even as piracy decreased, these underlying issues continued to threaten the region's stability. Gonzalez's encounter and the standoff involving MV Faina against Somali pirates became symbols of this larger struggle. These incidents highlighted the risks faced by sailors and the determination of navies worldwide to safeguard international shipping, but they also served as reminders of the human cost of these conflicts, for the sailors who risked their lives and the pirates driven to such desperate measures. These stories of Somali pirates trying to hijack a U.S. cargo ship and a Navy destroyer are more than just dramatic encounters. They illustrate the disparity in strength and the extremes to which desperation can drive people. For the crew of the USS Gonzalez, it was a day that tested their training and resolve. demonstrated the effectiveness of preparation, and proved the power of overwhelming force when necessary. However, not every ship navigating these dangerous waters has been as fortunate. This story underscores the complex interrelationship between economic hardship, political instability, and global security. Although Somali piracy has been largely subdued, it remains a cautionary tale of what happens when governance collapses. Thank you for watching this video. We hope it was both engaging and informative. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, we'll see you in the next one.